You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Happy Tuesday. We're doing it a little bit later than we had been doing. Just because we're really in the doldrums. There's not a heck of a lot of Michigan news to talk about, but we're going to talk about what we got. Locked On Wolverines podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. I am your man on the ground, Isaiah Hole, publisher of Wolverines Wire through USA Today Sports Media Group. And what I want to go over today is our deep dive into into TCU and how it matches up against Michigan. We'll go each segment, offense, defense, special teams, and then final thoughts for the special teams portion. Before we even get into it, I want to get into one aspect, which is I went and edited my Georgia spreadsheet from last year, and Michigan is appreciably better in almost every metric except for a lot of special teams, really. But the difference is TCU is not nearly as prolific and almost across the board from Georgia. Offensively, it's a tick better, especially in the passing game, but that's really about it. Otherwise, defensively, it is a nosedive comparatively. So it is a complete different situation. Going through players to know, when I was on defense, I had to erase like 9 guys from the Georgia defense just to put in 3 that had essentially similar production as 9 total. So it is a complete night and day type scenario when it comes to TCU. So let us get into it. I haven't published this on Wolverines Wire yet. I will here momentarily. I'm going to record the podcast and then do it. So let's start with the offense here. And this is where things get a little bit tricky for me, having to look over at a computer screen that's so far away over here. All right. So the way that Michigan's offense, let's see if we can finagle this. Probably not. For those watching, you can tell why I'm having some issues here. All right. That kind of works. All right. Michigan's got the 7th ranked scoring offense in the country at this juncture. They're scoring 40.1 points per game. That's only 1 position less than where TCU is with their prolific offenses. When it comes to the most important stat is scoring, right? Michigan's 1 less. But they'll be going up against the 57th ranked scoring defense. They were going up against the number 1 scoring defense last year. So they allow 25 points per game. So they're just basically saying, Michigan, here's 25 free points. Have at it. Michigan should be able to score essentially at will. Michigan has the 6th ranked rushing offense, averaging 243 yards per game. TCU is willing to acquiesce that, 64th in rushing defense, 150 essentially yards per game. Michigan's got the 93rd passing offense. That's to be expected given what Michigan's built itself to be. Run first, 210.5 yards per game. TCU is willing to give you more, 83rd in the country, 235.6 yards allowed. Michigan's total offense is 27th. TCU's defense is 74th. They allow 385 yards per game. Michigan usually gets 453.5. Yards per play, Michigan's 19th. They get 6.59 yards per play. TCU allows 5.41, which is good for 56th. So just by those numbers, yards per play is illuminating, especially TCU's allowing 5.41 yards per play. Michigan's rushing offense, I have to double check here as far as what it gets per play overall on the yards per play. All right, hold on. It's being slow and ridiculous. Okay, 5.64. So Michigan gets more rushing yards per play than TCU tends to give up yards per play overall. And, all right, computer's kind of frozen here. As far as rushing defense is concerned, I just want to double check this. In yards allowed per rush, TCU 66. They allow 4.1. So it's not appreciably. Basically, if you're going up against the TCU defense, you can just run 3 times and get a first down, which Michigan certainly is likely to do. As far as other metrics here, Michigan is 30th in first downs, 23.2. TCU is 63rd. They allow 20.1. Michigan converts 46.82 of its third downs, which is 16th in the country. TCU allows 35.23, which is 41st. The fourth down conversions, Michigan's actually number one in the country. Yeah, I would not have known that beforehand. They convert on 89.47 attempts. TCU allows 50% of its attempts, which is 54th. Michigan in the red zone, another one that you wouldn't expect, because they are getting field goals in the red zone generally, except for at Indiana. And I believe there was one other one. I can't remember which one it was. But Michigan's fifth in red zone scoring, and 93.75 conversions. TCU's right, it's less than in the middle when it comes to opponent red zone opportunities. 76th, 84.44. Michigan in sacks allowed is 10th. They allow a sack a game. TCU likes to get about 2 sacks a game, which is 77th. Michigan in tackles for loss allowed is 22nd. They allow 4.31. That is something where Michigan was sacks allowed Michigan was first last year. Now they're 10th. That's one place that Michigan's worse. TCU gets 5.46 tackles for loss, 78th. Long scrimmage plays, Michigan's 41st. That's any play over 10 yards with 182 10-yard plays. TCU's allowed about that, 87th with 175 allowed. Penalties, Michigan is 4th. They only get 32.3 yards per game penalty-wise. TCU is awful at it. They are 103rd in opposing penalties, opponent, whatever. I'm trying to smash two words together. 44.8. Time of possession, Michigan's 4th. 33 minutes, 53.92 seconds. TCU is 33rd, 31 minutes, 15 seconds. So, what does that all mean? That means Michigan should be able to kind of just do whatever it wants against the TCU defense, especially just kind of given they aren't good at stopping the run. They aren't good at stopping the pass. They're really not good at stopping anybody. So Michigan has got an absolute wonderful opportunity here. They allow teams to get points. I do want to look at one other metric before we fully move on here. And that is when it comes to the red zone, or let's just see scoring offense. Maybe that'll tell us here. As far as touchdowns allowed, TCU is actually 4th in the country. They've allowed 70 total touchdowns. Oops, that's offense. I'm on the wrong thing. Scoring defense. Let's do this again. But that tells you that they score a lot. Touchdowns. TCU is actually 67th. They've allowed 41 touchdowns. Field goals. TCU is 41st. They have allowed 13 field goals. So, by contrast, as far as scoring defense is concerned, Michigan might not be appreciably better overall. I'm trying to see here. Michigan's actually, they've allowed, I'm looking at field goals, 16 field goals. As far as touchdowns are concerned, Michigan is 4th. They've allowed 18 total touchdowns. So, this should be a situation where Michigan should be able to do what it wants offensively. I think the big question for this game, the matchup that we're all looking for, is how does Michigan's defense face off against the TCU offense? And we are going to get to that here in just a moment. Before we do, listen, if you want something delicious, something amazing, if you want to give a gift of something delicious or something amazing, nothing is better than getting or receiving a very perfect cut of steak. And guess what? You can do that with Omaha Steaks. This is insane. Omaha Steaks has cut prices 50% site-wide to make you the gift-giving hero that you always wanted to be. The holidays are here, achieving gifting greatness when you give the gift of perfectly aged, tender, and delicious Omaha Steaks. Omaha Steaks have put together a delicious selection of various gift packages to make shopping for the ones you love nice and easy. Go to omahasteaks.com and take advantage of the 50% off site-wide. Plus, use code LOCKEDON at checkout to get an additional $40 off of your order. Omaha Steaks has everything you need to give a gift that's simply perfect. Send an assortment of mouth-watering favorites like the delicious Butcher's Cut Filet Mignon, air-chilled boneless chicken, ultra-juicy burgers, and even easy-prepare comfort meals that are ready in a flash. Don't wait. Order today and beat the shipping rush. Go to omahasteaks.com and use the promo code LOCKEDON at checkout. Omaha Steaks is a gift from the heart, a gift that will be remembered with every unforgettable bite. Order with complete confidence today, knowing that you are ordering the very best. Visit omahasteaks.com, take advantage of the 50% off site-wide, plus use promo code LOCKEDON at checkout to get that extra, that's $40 off of your order. All right, so let's move on to the Michigan defense versus the TCU offense. TCU is better than Georgia was offensively, but it isn't like some kind of crazy difference. Michigan's defense, however, I think every single metric except for tackles for loss is better than it was a year ago. So the no-star defense, I mean, this is going into the Georgia game versus going into the TCU game. So TCU has the 6th rated scoring offense, 40.3. This is what the game comes down to. Michigan has the 5th best scoring defense, 13.4. That is a giant difference. If you want to take a look and try to figure out who's the best scoring defense that they have faced, as in TCU, that would be Iowa State. They are 21st, and they allowed 20.3. Their season was essentially over when they faced TCU. Oh, the internet is just not working for me today, man. All right, let's see here. Game log. So TCU was the last game they played. They put up 62 on that really good scoring defense. But Iowa State was eliminated from being in contention for a postseason. They were already they've only had 4 wins going into that game. So they were 4-6. There was no way that they were going to make it in with a win. So they had checked out. They allowed 62, which is the next best thing that they had was against Baylor, was 31. But otherwise, their points allowed were like 10, 7, 10, 14, 10, 24, 27, blah, blah, blah. So unmotivated, in my opinion, being the last game of the season. But you still have to give TCU credit for being able to absolutely stifle that. The best scoring defenses Michigan has faced, number 1, Illinois. Obviously, that didn't go great, but Michigan was extremely shorthanded. No Blake Corum for a half, no Donovan Edwards at all. Lots of different guys in there. Michigan also played against Iowa, put up 27. They're number 6. They played Penn State and put up 42. That was the number 9 team. They played Ohio State, number 13. They put up 45. You get my drift. Michigan is a little bit more tested and has done really, really well against most really good scoring defenses. Michigan's rushing defense is number 3rd, and they'll be going up against the 25th ranked rushing offense. Michigan allows 85.23 yards per game, and TCU gets 200 yards per game. So that is one aspect, but TCU is also really good at passing the ball, 25th in the country, 273 yards per game. Michigan is 22nd, actually the same ranking as it was last year at this time, but a little bit better in yards allowed. It was like 194 last year. Now it's 191.8. Makes sense that with Ohio State still being able to put up yards, but it would have been even better had it not played Purdue of all teams that was able to throw the ball all over them, but still only allowed 19 points in that game. So overall total offense, TCU as the 16th ranked total offense, 473 yards per game. Michigan as the third ranked total defense, 277.1 yards allowed. Yards per play, TCU is 10th, averaging 6.84. Michigan is third defensively, allowing 4.4 yards per play. First downs, TCU actually doesn't get a ton of them. They're 41st, 22.2. Worse than Michigan in that regard by one whole point per game, one first down per game. Michigan's defense allows 15.2. They are 8th. Third down conversions. Again, TCU is not great at converting on third downs. 40.23. They're 52nd. Michigan is really good defensively. 20th in the country, allowing 32.42 conversion rate on third downs. Fourth downs, Michigan's even better. 6th in the country, 32.14. TCU is 45th in the country, completing 56%. Again, remember, Michigan's offense is number 1 in the country in that regard. Michigan's opponent, red zone conversion rate is 32nd. They allow teams to convert 79.41%. Certainly some turnovers like Will Johnson in the Big Ten championship game have helped that number. TCU, when it comes to red zone conversions, is actually 80th. They are not great in the red zone. Michigan is 5th, again, by comparison. 81.82 conversions. And it's not that they can't kick field goals. Their field goal kicker has been very good. Perhaps that does something to do with fourth down conversion rate. I'd have to double check. They don't have a lot of turnovers. They are 15th in turnover margin. Michigan's 20th. So it's not like they're turning over the ball a lot. I would imagine they're going for it in fourth down, with having not watched a lot of TCU games. For those couple YouTubers out there that I know are going to sit there, YouTube commenters, I know you're going to sit there and say, how the heck have you not, as a Michigan guy, how are you not watching every TCU game? Because I'm not. That is not how this works. Which also, I'm going to take this opportunity for those, again, watching. I am wearing my Tulane hoodie, and people are going to be like, oh, are you a Tulane guy? I get that every time I'm wearing a different hoodie. I know that not everyone's watching every episode. Why do I wear these? Former occasional sponsor, Home Field Apparel, coolest designs, most comfortable clothes. That's why. This is a sweet design. That's why I wear it. All right, let's continue. I digressed there for a moment. As far as sacks allowed, TCU is 52nd. They allow 1.77 sacks per game. Michigan is 25th in sacks. They get 2.77. Again, Michigan has more sacks at this point in time in the year than they had last year totally. So minus a game. And obviously they didn't get to Stetson Bennett, but tackles for loss. TCU is 55th in the country. They allow 5.31. Michigan, again, same like last year. I think they were 80th last year. They're 81st this year. 5.39 tackles for loss per game. So they're not great at that compared to other teams. Michigan long scrimmage plays allowed. They're 10th in the country. They've allowed 125th. Going up against the 10th ranked offense in that front, who TCU has 219 10-plus yard plays. Penalties, TCU is pretty good at not committing them. 36th in the country, 46.8 yards per game. Michigan is not great when it comes to that either. They allow 41.8 yards. They don't force more penalties. So that's the defensive side of the ball for Michigan. We'll have their work cut out for them, but I'd have to go back and double check on all of this. But Ohio State's ranked higher than pretty much all of this, right? The difference is TCU, Max Duggan, he ain't going to give up, right? He's going to keep going. He's going to definitely keep going and keep pushing. He's not going to stop. Maybe the offensive line does against the defensive line. Maybe the defensive line does against Michigan's offensive line. That remains to be seen. I definitely think Michigan has advantages in the trenches, and the numbers bear that out. All right, let's continue on. But before we do, listen, can we pause the podcast for just 1 second? All right, are we paused? Great, because you've got to try this. I'm talking about Built Bar's new reimagined flavors, cookie dough topper, coconut brownie bar, and coconut brownie topper. I mean, those are insane. White chocolate peppermint granola. It's built to take on the granola bar, so it's more filling and still insanely tasty. And candy cane brownie puff. That's right, puff. Have you had the Built Puffs yet? Because I thought the Built Bar on their own were amazing, and the puffs. Oh, I don't even like marshmallows, but I love the Built Puffs. Built Puffs are like taking a bite into the universe's most delicious cloud. That's the best way I can explain it. First off, for anyone who hasn't tried Built Bars before, they're literally the best tasting protein bars ever built. They're revolutionizing nutrition, as we know, with 100% real chocolate, 17 grams of protein, and shockingly low sugar and calories. It's 130 calories to be precise. That's why I have 2 at a time usually. It makes a good meal replacement. Just sink your teeth into that first bite and it'll change your life forever. I am not kidding. There will be a time before you tried these new Built flavors and the magical, wonderful time afterwards. You are probably wondering which new flavor is my favorite. That's an unanswerable question, to say the least. They're all unbelievable. And they're all different, so you can order a mixed box and try all 5 flavors for yourself. Built, you've got to try this. Get 15% off of your order right now by using the code LOCKEDON15 at Built.com. All right, we've got a few more minutes here to go. And we've got special teams to go through. I'm not really going to go through it because I don't think it matters that much. I mean, we'll just say it really fast. TCU, numbers-wise, is maybe a little bit better than Michigan in special teams. But that's why we are going to deploy something a little different. Let's see if I can do this quickly. I probably cannot. And I'm not logged in, of course. Well, I am logged in. It's just being a jerk. Let's see if I can find this real fast. Oops, I had it and I lost it. SP. So Michigan is by the numbers is not like appreciably better in special teams, but a lot of that's somewhat by design, right? Michigan lets the ball go out the end zone more often than not and isn't trying to do a bunch of returns. TCU clearly is trying to return the ball. Special teams wise, Michigan's ranked 6th according to SP+. Offense is 18th, defense is 4th. If you really want to just boil it down, SP+, Brian Connolly's wonderful thing there. TCU is got the 6th best offense, 33rd ranked defense, 31st special teams. So even though the numbers are better across the board, special teams wise, Michigan's better in the eyes of Bill Connolly and ESPN's advanced analytics. So what does this all mean? Well, Michigan will have its work cut out for it from a defensive standpoint. Again, TCU has the 6th ranked offense according to SP+. Ohio State, who Michigan was able to hold pretty well, is 4th after playing Michigan. I believe they were 1st before that. Teams ahead of Ohio State offensively are UCLA, Tennessee, and USC. Not in that order. Defensively, Michigan's got the 4th ranked defense in SP+. Again, just to TCU's 33rd. If we want to go and see what Iowa State, they have the 7th ranked defense, so just marginally better marginally worse than Michigan, rather. But again, late season, things were not good for them. Wasn't going to go, win. It is what it is. TCU also had something to prove. Iowa State didn't. So I would assume that has something to do with it. Usually you see those bubble teams kind of just not do that great, especially when you know that you're not going to get a bowl game. But it's a team in my eyes that kind of quit. Could be wrong. But I think that Iowa State team kind of quit. But again, credit to TCU. Maybe they do come out guns a-blazing and suddenly the Michigan defense is exposed. I don't see it. And if there is, it could be a shootout, right? Because their defense ain't stopping nobody. As far as defenses Michigan's faced, again, according to SP+, Ohio State 15th after playing Michigan. Again, all these are after playing Michigan. Penn State 11th. Wish I could sort these. That would make life easier. Illinois 3rd. Iowa 1st. Michigan had no problem moving the ball on Iowa when it wanted to. Maryland 46. So Maryland a little bit worse than TCU. So appreciably, you're looking at playing a defense that's similar to Maryland. Now, Michigan didn't have the best game against Maryland offensively, so maybe it ends up being a game. I mean, that's why they play the games, right? But Michigan has, it seemed in bigger games, like it's been able to do kind of what it wants to do, and it's been able to control the game. Again, it comes down to the trenches. Michigan is appreciably better in that regard. TCU's not going to get after J.J. McCarthy. They have not been that great at getting after the quarterback, and then they're going up against the best offensive line they've seen to date. He should be able to throw when he wants to. Michigan should be able to run when it wants to. TCU runs a 3-3-5. That is problematic for the run game. Unless Sonny Dykes works some kind of crazy magic, which he very well could. But this, again, is a matchup that should heavily favor Michigan. Now, if Michigan has to face Georgia, then we're talking a different scenario because those two teams, very similar, but Georgia's just slightly better in the advanced analytics. Literally. Offense, Georgia, 16 to Michigan's 18th. Defense, 2nd to Michigan's 4th. Special teams, 5th to Michigan's 6th. But that just means who wants it more, who plays a better game, who has a better game plan. You know what I mean? So, again, we have a couple weeks yet. About 3 weeks before this game is happening. A little less than, I believe, 18 days from today. So, not 2.5 weeks. It is creeping up. I will be in Arizona 2 weeks from now. So that's crazy. So anyway, that's going to do it for us today. We'll be back tomorrow, Wednesday. Hopefully there will be some news to talk about. We don't really have anything right now. Hopefully we'll have some news. And then we'll do the mailbag, and then we'll move it into on Friday. But we were just kind of in a little bit of a dead period here. We'll figure some things out. So thanks for watching and or listening. We will be back soon. Peace.